He walked out of the octagon with a record that may never be repeated. 29 fights, 29 wins, and not a single defeat anywhere on the page. It's untouchable. And yet, standing at the very top, he chose to stop. While the promoters lined up to wave huge checks in his face and beg him back for one more night, his mind was already somewhere else completely. 5 hours up a mountain road, in a village barely anyone outside Dagestan has heard of, he was quietly turning his money into something permanent. And around the same time, a strange rumor began to spread across the internet. Fans stopped saying that Khabib Nurmagomedov merely came from Dagestan. They started saying he as good as owns it. To understand how that idea took hold, you have to begin where he began. Khabib was born on the 20th of September 1988 in a settlement called Sildi. It clings to the slopes of the Caucasus at almost 2,000 meters of altitude, tucked away in the far west of Dagestan, only a short distance from the Georgian border. Getting there from Makhachkala, the regional capital, means close to 5 hours of climbing along thin, twisting mountain roads. And once you arrive, there is no high street to speak of. There are no supermarkets and no shopping centers. Families in Sildi grow their crops and keep their own livestock, because the closest proper shop is a long descent back toward the city. The most recent official count put the population of the entire village at only a little over 200 people. 200. That is the size of the community that produced one of the finest mixed martial artists the world has ever seen. The person who made that possible was his father, Khabib Nurmagomedov, a combat sports coach who took a freezing mountain gym and turned it into something closer to a factory for champions. The wider district is known as Tsumadinski, and Khabib has explained that his nickname, the Eagle, is tied to a region long associated with the bird. So before he ever set foot in an arena in Las Vegas, the whole story was already written into the landscape. Mountains, eagles, wrestling, and a father willing to train his son in conditions most paid athletes would walk straight out of. What followed is the part most fans already know by heart. Khabib arrived in the UFC and flatly refused to be beaten. He hauled opponents to the canvas, pinned them there round after round, and made some of the most dangerous men on the planet look completely out of their depth. In 2018, he defeated Al Iaquinta to take the lightweight crown. And later that same year, he walked into the fight that rewrote his life, the bitter showdown with Conor McGregor at UFC 229. He submitted McGregor, and by some accounts that single evening put close to $7 million in his pocket. But the defining moment of his career was never about a victory. In the summer of 2020, his father Abdulmanap died following complications from heart surgery and the coronavirus. Months later, Khabib stepped through the cage door one final time, forced Justin Gaethje to tap at UFC 254, and then sank to the mat in tears. He retired on the spot, explaining that he had given his mother his word he would not carry on fighting without his father beside him. He finished a flawless 29-0, was inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame in 2022, and stepped away with a fortune estimated at around $40 million. For a boy from a village of 200, that on its own would be a remarkable place to end the story. But sitting back and enjoying the money was never the plan. He took that fortune and aimed it straight back up the mountain. In 2024, he made a choice that left a lot of people scratching their heads. He shut down the Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov school in Makhachkala, the gym carrying his late father's name, located in a city of more than 600,000 residents. Then he lifted the entire operation out of the capital and carried it up to Sildi, to the village of 200. In May of 2025, he cut the ribbon on a brand new, world-class training complex in those mountains, the first real fight facility his birthplace had ever seen. It was not a modest project. Reports place the cost above 400 million rubles, somewhere in the region of $5 million from his own funds, and a few estimates run even higher. And the way he described it says everything you need to know about the man. He said he had flown to America, taken part in the biggest fight in the history of the sport, beaten up a man he did not like, and been paid handsomely for the privilege, then brought that money home and poured it into this corner of Dagestan. He admitted he would never see that investment returned in his lifetime, and made it clear that getting it back had never been the point. Now picture where it stands. The gym sits at over 6,000 feet. Fighters who train up there are forcing their lungs to perform in thin mountain air, which is exactly why altitude camps are so brutal and so effective. Islam Makhachev, the man who took over Khabib's place at the top of the UFC, has already completed a full camp at the Sildi base. So this is no monument left to gather dust on a hillside. It is a working machine for building the next generation of Dagestani fighters. And the training center is just one piece of a far larger operation. Back in 2020, Khabib started his own promotion, first called Gorilla FC and later renamed Eagle FC. The idea was simple enough: give skilled fighters from Russia, Dagestan and the Middle East a genuine stage instead of sitting by the phone hoping the UFC might call. From there, the brand only widened. He rolled out a chain of Khabib gyms. He put his name on a range of protein bars. He launched a bottled water built around the image of pure Dagestani springs. He released a clothing line carrying his eagle emblem. And on top of all of it, he stacked sponsorship deals, from Reebok in his fighting years to an energy drink company, where plenty of retired champions drift gently into the occasional interview and signing session. Khabib went in the opposite direction and built a name that keeps earning whether he ever competes again or not. If you are enjoying this look at how a fighter from a 200-person village built a global business, take a moment to subscribe. Every week we pull apart the money, the rivalries and the dynasties behind the biggest names in combat sports. Now let us get to the part that turned Khabib from a comfortable retiree into something much closer to a tycoon. Because the real empire was never the protein bars or the water bottles, it is the people. Khabib has quietly become one of the most effective coaches anywhere in the sport. Splitting his time between the American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose and his base back home, he has shaped a long line of champions and contenders. Islam Makhachev grew into a two-division UFC title holder under his guidance. His cousins, Umar Nurmagomedov and Usman Nurmagomedov, carry the family name into cages around the world. And the Dagestani approach, all relentless wrestling, suffocating pressure, and that mountain-forged engine has come close to taking over the lighter divisions of the UFC entirely. This is what the clickbait gets wrong and also, in a way, gets right. Khabib does not legally own a city. Nobody signs a town over to you. But when one man funds the gym, develops the champions, pays the coaches, and drags his whole region onto the world stage, he becomes the center of gravity that everything else circles. In Sildi, and across a large slice of Dagestan's fight world, nearly every path eventually leads back to him. Then, in October 2025, he made his most daring move yet, and it split his own fans straight down the middle. He announced a multi-billion-dollar joint venture with Multibank Group, a major financial firm based in Dubai. Together they created a new company called Multibank Khabib, operated out of Dubai, with plans to build 30 premium Khabib gyms across the globe, and to grow Eagle FC alongside a sports platform called Game Plan. The detail that grabbed every headline was the blockchain. The arrangement involves tokenizing the Khabib gym business, so investors can buy fractional digital shares and collect a portion of the profits. On paper, it is one of the most ambitious blends of sport and finance any athlete has ever attempted. But not everyone cheered. A large part of his audience turned suspicious the instant a crypto token entered the picture. Critics online dismissed it as just another celebrity coin dressed up in fight branding and asked whether it really matched the humble, disciplined image he had spent a career building. Whether you see it as a clever, regulated expansion or a reckless bet on hype, one thing is hard to argue with. Khabib has stopped thinking like a fighter. He is thinking like the chairman of a worldwide company. So does Khabib Nurmagomedov truly own an entire city? No, not in the way a headline wants you to picture it. What he actually did is stranger than that, and frankly more impressive. He took an icy village of 200 people, a place with no shops and a 5-hour drive to the nearest city, and he steered millions of his own dollars into it. He built the gym his father never had. He turned his homeland into a training ground for world champions. And he wrapped a fight promotion, a gym chain, a row of consumer brands, and a multi-billion-dollar Dubai venture around one single name, his own. A village raised him with almost nothing. Now he is spending a fortune he freely admits he will never recover, all to lift the next wave of fighters out of the same mountains that shaped him. Maybe that counts for more than owning a city ever could. A city is something you can buy. The kind of legacy rising in Sildi has to be built, one champion at a time.